Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Travis, Sleeping Warrior, Physics Warrior, Mark Doxy, Jose, Iron Realm Media, Event Horizon, and Earth Flattener. Arwin is not here as he's competing with us today. We may discuss that after housekeeping. Hello all, good to have you.
Oh no.
Hey.
Hello.
Shout out to Anders Ace.
Shout out to Science But Simple for the super chat. Excited to hear more. Congrats on the milestone. Yeah, Saturday will be my year anniversary of Flat Earth Debate. So 1 year of streaming daily. Happy days. But yeah, that's in 2 days' time. So what's the score with Arwin then? Just before we started, someone mentioned that he was about to go live. Apparently with a competing show. Happy days.
He's on a... He's that now called
Hey, Mike.
Flat Earth Talk.
Hey, Mike.
Newton's
How you doing?
Hi guys.
Good to have you.
Legacy, it's called.
Excellent. Competition is always good. Hope he does well. So should we do
Shout
some
out to
housekeeping?
Newton's Legacy.
Yeah, so check out Arwin after this show, of course. Any signs of curvature, gentlemen?
Nope.
Nope.
No.
9.
0.
Is that a yes, Eleanor?
Nada.
No? Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety, specifically?
Nada.
Nope.
No. I can't feel no spinning.
No.
About scientific evidence of gravity?
There's not even any evidence of gravity, let alone scientific evidence of gravity.
Lots of entropy.
Yeah.
Equilibrium.
Neutral buoyancy.
Any evidence of gas pressure without a container?
No, you need a container for sulfur hydrofluoride. So shout out to Nethio Zero, who doesn't realise that message. Moron.
What about a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
No.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nope.
As Arwin's not here, there is no distance to the sun.
There is no distance.
I agree, there is none.
Last but not least, R.
No.
0.
No Arwin.
So yeah, what's the deal, do you
Okay.
reckon? Darwin's got sick of us asking him for evidence of gravity.
I don't know why he'd set up a competing show, but maybe he's putting up a flag or something, I'm not sure.
He was around earlier, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, yeah. He was around until the end of the last show. Anyway. So, Mike, anything interesting?
No, I was bored. I got home a little early today, so I just might as well join you guys. Nothing in particular I wanted to share or something. Just amongst friends.
Okay,
Why?
so
You got any questions?
Do you want to tell us anything about what FE Core are doing recently?
Yeah, have you come up with a new slogan?
Yeah. Yeah, we have. I'm not going to reveal it here, of course, but
You misery.
we've managed to get one, and it's getting in printed now on T-shirts. So
cool.
And
the conference that's due to start in where is it? Denver, Colorado. That's going to be coming up in the next 3 weeks?
Yeah, lots of our guys are going to be there. Bob and Jaren, of course. Karen.
Are you going yourself?
No, I wish I could. I've got too much work on my shoulders at the moment, and I just can't be bothered to go to a convention in the United States. It's going to cost me a few days, and those are days I don't have at the moment.
Cool.
Well, not so cool. I wish I could go there. I wish I had some more time on my hand, but.
Do you have any evidence of gravity for us?
Scientific evidence? Hell no.
Or just evidence of what they tell us is gravity, whether it be Einsteinian or Newtonian. I'll assume that you've not got any bending space-time to show us, but perhaps you might have some Newtonian evidence for us?
No. Mass does not create a force.
No, I agree. Anybody that thinks mass creates a force is a moron.
Yeah, I concur.
Right, so what do we talk about now?
I don't know. It's your show, not mine.
It's a quiet day today. There's not a lot happening in the world of science for the Ball Earth religion.
Well, that's their problem. They watch Discovery all the time and don't go out in the field to actually test what they claim they know.
I realised that this Ball Earth indoctrination that everybody's been under the spell of hasn't got a lot of legs. And in the news today, they were talking about how Trump's been attacking the media in America, saying about fake news. And what he was doing, he was trying to diffuse the situation, because there's been some politicians in America that have been getting verbally attacked and abused by members of the public in certain areas for different political reasons. And he was trying to diffuse the situation by saying, look, there's a way to disagree with people, and bullying and harassing them is not it. And on the one hand, he's kind of right, but on the other hand, these people are politicians. These people are basically lying to us day in, day out about all aspects of life. And what Trump was saying is that the news have a responsibility to tell the truth, not report things that they tell people are facts that are not actually facts.
Well, that used to be the case, but now they're actually obligated to lie to you.
No, but what Trump was saying was that even though you guys are cheesed off with the way that the world is going, don't be attacking the politicians. Really, the problem is the news, and I tend to agree with that. So whether you're pro-Trump or against Trump, the media are telling lies, lots of them, and people need to realize that this is not acceptable. We shouldn't be getting told lies. We should be getting told facts, not opinions that are false.
Well, it's not even an opinion. You know, if it was their own opinion, then, there's some respect you can get for that. But they're just blatantly lying to you. They're coming up with bullshit stories to influence you in some way or another. And
yeah, there was a female reporter reporting on these rainpours that were these downpours that are in an area. And she was trying to basically exaggerate how much rainfall there had been. And she was basically on her knees in the rain, not stood in the rain, on her knees in the rain, and the cameraman was really down low to give the impression that it was all heavy rainfall, and it was really a lot worse than what it actually was. But basically, there's another camera guy there taking the same footage of what's going on, but from a distance. And everyone's walking around and looking at her, wondering why is she on her knees? Right, you know what I mean? She was literally misrepresenting how much the rainfall was, presumably to try and support this assertion of global climate change.
Do you remember the guy in the wind? There was a reporter doing a broadcast, and he's saying it's really windy, and he's leaning into the wind.
I see that. That was the one that came to mind too. The guy that was pretending there was a huge hurricane, and there was just in the background people were just walking by in shorts.
Yeah, in shorts on mobile phones, just chatting away.
It's hilarious.
Just a
It's
bit
really
of drizzle
bad.
to the
You get
youth.
to the point where the news becomes just farcical. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I've thrown out my TV. Well, not my TV, but my subscription to TV 4 years ago. Never watched a second of TV since, and I don't miss it at all.
I was like that anyway. I'm on again, off again relationship with TV. So for long periods, I'd have 2 or 3 years with no TV, and then I'd just get a subscription for maybe a year, and then within maybe a month, maybe less, you'd have watched absolutely everything there was to offer, and all that would be left is stuff that you'd either seen already, it was repeated from last month, or it was Frasier being repeated, or Cheers. You know what I mean? It's just repeats from the 80s and 90s. It's just like there's no very little new actual content because it's so expensive to produce. You can see why YouTube is so much more popular because there's constant new material.
Well, it's not just YouTube. You know, if you want to watch something that's just been released, you just download it like everybody else.
That's
I don't
it.
watch TV either, but for some reason I get the news and just as quick as anybody else just watches TV, like the weather.
I try to avoid the news as much as possible because it only makes me angry.
Same here, and that's probably the reason why I don't watch TV.
TV's part of the distraction tool, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. You know, as long as they keep your mind busy with meaningless stuff, you won't try to figure out what's actually going on.
Shout out to P. Mars. He would always say like the TV is the biggest weapon for the mass at large.
Shout out retracted.
Shout out retracted. I just wanted to say that Trump and Clinton, CNN, Fox, all these things, SpaceX, NASA, they're all on the same side. It's just propaganda. It's not on our side. So even if Anthony says that Trump's maybe he said something that's right or whatever, it's a narrative, and they're just trying to deflect you from what's actually happening.
That's what I was going to say. Doesn't matter who it is, it's all a narrative. They're all puppets. They're always going to come up with arguments that someone's going to agree with, and that's how they pull people around.
Yeah, voting in the first place is basically consenting to which way they're going to rape you, either financially or with your standard of living. But either way, they're going to rape you in one way or the other. Adam, are you still there?
Literally just got back, mate.
What's your position on gravity, Adam? Do you think that there's something else possibly, or do you think that there's just nothing there?
My position is that I've not seen anything demonstrable to show there's an additional force at play. I'm happy enough with density and buoyancy for the Americans. So I'm happy with that at play. I think a little like Arwin, I do seek a little. I want to know why up is up and down is down. I don't see that requires an additional force. I do think it is something controlled by another mechanism that defines that, but I'm happy for it to be also a law of nature that actually, you know, like many things, it's going to be one of those things that just is. That's the way heavy stuff goes.
So, you know, when you say you want to know why up is up and down is down, what's your position with regard to the matter that the thing is in that you're looking at in terms of if it's a helium balloon, for example, depending on the medium it's in, the helium balloon will either go up or down, but it's relative to the medium that it's in. So what you're asking for directional wise is actually a relative position to the medium it's in.
No, not that. No. So not a differential reasoning. Whatever those relative densities are, heavier stuff goes one way and lighter stuff goes another. And it's just, is there a causation behind that orientation of it? Is it to do with the electric universe? That's where I'd sit it. I wouldn't.
Shout out to Science But Simple for the super chat. Let me know when there's for a different view. Don't really understand the message, but thank you very much for the super chat.
But like I say, I'm also quite happy to accept that that is not necessarily something that you could get causation for, and could be like the law of entropy. It just is. It's a law. Things fall down.
Yeah, I'd rather believe and accept Mother Nature rather than these forces that science tell us that they are, because at least we can see Mother Nature in action. We can see things like weather. We can see Mother Nature does have a way of balancing everything out. And I'm all right with that. I don't think you need to explain why hot goes to cold or pressure goes to non-pressure. I don't think you need to explain why any of these things happen other than it's just the way it is. And that's presumably the way that it was designed by the creator, if there is one. But ultimately, these things are basically fundamental laws of nature as far as I'm concerned. And it's not for us to work out how or why. They just are. And I think this thing about gravity is, well, the density goes down and buoyancy goes up. It's the same as pressure going to down, less pressure. It's just the way it is.
Sorry to interrupt. Is anybody who's not chatting willing to drop? I think somebody's trying to join the panel. Literally, they just sent a super chat to try and join.
Yes, I'll drop. I'm kind of busy
you,
over here. I was as a placeholder. I'll see you later, guys.
Much obliged.
See you later. Who was it on the super chat?
Gap now on the panel for, I think, Science But Simple wants to join, I think. There we go. Hello, Science But Simple.
Hello.
Good to have you.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We can. Yeah. Thanks for joining.
All right, just making sure.
Thanks for the super chat.
I just thought I'd join. I have at least one person with a different view, bring a little bit of life to the show.
Cool. 2007 Blue Marble as your avatar. Does that make you a baller?
I am, yes.
Good stuff. Finally. No ballers on the panel at the moment. You're the only one. Hopefully we'll treat you nicely.
I'm not too worried about it. I've been watching your show for quite a while, so.
So what can we do for you then?
On the theory of gravity, you guys are right. There's no really scientific evidence, and anybody who's a ball earther would be stupid to tell you otherwise. Because it's been proven time and time again, as there is no actual proof for gravity, but there is observations for gravity actually working upon objects. Like dropping an apple. The apple goes down at a constant accelerated rate of 9.2 meters per second. If it is only mass or buoyancy or whatever you guys call it, how do you explain acceleration, and why would the object accelerate faster and faster?
9.8 resistance against it.
Just define a few. Sorry, before anyone answers, just define a few terms. So, what medium are we talking about, and what's the actual situation? So, what's the object? What's the medium?
So let's say I take an object and I drop it, right? Accelerates at a constant speed, right? It'll go faster and faster and faster the higher I drop it, right? So how do you guys explain this if gravity doesn't exist?
Well, no, that's sorry. No. So it doesn't matter if I take a balloon, for instance, a helium balloon, that won't be the case. So that's why I'm saying define what we're talking about specifically first.
All right, well, let's take just a simple apple. Let's just take an apple.
Okay. Fine. And what medium is it in? Is it in air or is it in water?
It's in air.
It's in air. So is your position that it will accelerate at a set rate all the time? Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
So what happens when you put the apple in water?
The apple floats, obviously. Well, it'll float to a certain degree. It'll sink first.
Why does it not?
Finds medium.
Why does it not accelerate at 9.8 meters per second squared?
Because of the density of the water.
Oh, not gravity.
Well, there's two forces acting upon it now. Now there's density acting upon it, which pushes the apple up, and then there's gravity pushing the apple down, which is why the apple comes down, but also decelerates due to the density of the water.
The same was true in the air, but the apple was more dense than the air it was in. So your explanation is sound for both situations.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so wouldn't we need to actually have a demonstration of this? Because all we're doing is talking about an idea. So do you have something that you can show us where this is demonstrated?
Well, I mean, you can do it yourself, right? You can just take the apple, drop it in the air, watch what happens.
But you're the one making the claim, so I'm just asking.
Well, hang on. How would we be able to distinguish the density of the apple and the gravitational force against just the density of the apple itself.
Now, the gravitational pull is agreed upon on everything. Is pretty much universal, right? There's the Earth is massive. We all have the same gravitational pull acted upon us. Everything is the same. You know,
That's just appeal to consensus, though.
Right.
Well, how do you contrast the gravity against the density? Where do you draw the line, and how would you know that the line is there?
But that's the thing. I'm in a gray spot, right? I'm in between both flat Earth and globe. You know, I'm riding the wave between both. That's why I watch the show. And there's a consensus that if you can't disprove something, then it doesn't mean it's false. So if flat Earth can't disprove gravity, then it doesn't mean that gravity is false.
That's a logical fallacy. Sorry, that's called the argument from ignorance. So if I say, you can't disprove my assertion that I've got a unicorn in my garage. It's living and breathing, it's eating hay right now. If you can't disprove that unicorn, that ipso facto makes unicorns real. No, that's an argument from ignorance fallacy.
And not just that, he's reversed the burden of proof by saying that we've got to disprove it.
Well, yes, I mean, that's how it works, right?
Is where the burden of proof lies. Sorry to interrupt. The assertion is where the burden of proof lies. So if you were to assert that
claims require extraordinary evidence.
Yeah, the burden of proof is on the person making the assertion.
Correct.
Science, can I just ask a point? You started out saying you accepted there was no scientific evidence, and part of the thing when you look at the density and buoyancy stuff, and then you stick gravity in there, gravity it's neutral within it, and you could just as easily say that there are on average 9.8 unicorns start pulling something down every single second on average. You could just as easily put that analogy in and use that in the mathematics. The mathematics itself are only derived from the observation of things falling at 9.8. There's no measurement of a force, so it's all supposition that the gravity is a force. That's where I struggle. It's not demonstrable in any way, and in fact, if anything, when we look at neutral buoyancy, it demonstrates that there isn't a force there.
Well, the other thing, of course, is that if I was to assert that everything has a tendency to want to go up, but for its own mass stops it from doing so, would it then be for you to try and prove that I'm wrong, or would it be for me to prove that I was right?
Well, it would be my job to prove to you that you're wrong. Right?
No, it wouldn't. No, not at all. If Anthony makes an assertion that there is an overriding force that ultimately pushes everything up, and it's only the displacement down that gives us anything actually going to the ground, then it wouldn't be down to you to disprove it, in the same way it's not down to you to disprove the unicorns in my garage. It's down to the person who makes the assertion to prove it. So Anthony, prove there's a universal force pushing everything up, displacing everything down.
Helium balloons. Booyah.
But that's not proof. That's just your religious belief in a force that goes up.
Are you denying helium balloons, Nathan?
No, I'm denying that you have no evidence to prove there's a universal force pushing up, displacing everything down.
But everything else is heavier than helium balloons, though, Nathan.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that there's water vapour and helium balloons and various other things that naturally go up, but that doesn't prove a universal force displacing everything down. Ultimately, this is just the converse argument that the globists give us, but with Anthony asserting a ludicrous notion of a universal upward force displacing everything down, contrary to the universal downward force that displaces helium balloons up.
Brilliant.
That was quite good, wasn't it? So, science, you know Newton's third law, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction.
Yes.
That means for everything that goes down, in your case, the apple falling off the tree, there's an equal and opposite reaction where that volume of air goes back up the other way. Agreed?
That's correct.
Wouldn't it be seen to be a balancing act rather than a gravitational force down? Because that implies that there's only the one action, but we know that there's two. There's one equal and opposite going back up the other way. So why would you only look at the apple going down, but not realize or not observe the other part going back up the other way? And I would then say that's a balancing act.
Yes.
In other words, your assertion's only 50% right.
But that's also the reason why we don't float up, and that's the reason why the Earth can also retain its atmosphere, right? Now, there's 2 points to that.
Sorry, do you want to quantify that a bit more than just stating it?
Yeah. So let's say the Earth is a globe, right? Now, the Earth stays on the Earth for 2 reasons. 1, because vacuum does not act upon our atmosphere, and 2, because there's an equilibrium.
Sorry, what the hell is this? Sorry. So you've just come to assert your religious belief about a vacuum of space simultaneously working next to a gas pressure of Earth? What the hell gives?
Work next to a gas pressure.
How does vacuum not act upon? How does entropy not take effect there?
What's a vacuum?
Science, mate. You started again by saying I've been watching this show for a while. How do you think you were going to sneak them lines in? That's naughty, man. That's funny.
So we started off with.
I just dropped that in.
Yeah, I mean, we had 3 logical fallacies, one after the next. So we started with if the Earth is a sphere. So we're already begging the question and assuming we're on a sphere before we do anything. That was the first logical fallacy. Then we're into a few religious beliefs about Earth's atmosphere being held on by gravity. Then we're into another religious belief about the vacuum of space not affecting the air pressure. I mean, how much more religious belief do you want to assert here?
I'm going to call it religious beliefs, for sure, if you want to call it that.
Oh, right. Okay, no problem. If you don't want to call it that, give us a demonstration of gas pressure being maintained without a container.
Sure, the Earth.
Sorry, that's your religious belief. Now you're going to piss me off real fast. That's your religious belief.
Yeah, but you have one air pressure, right? We can all agree that we have one atmospheric pressure, right?
Yeah, we breathe in it, yeah.
No, that's not agreed upon. Why do you think we've only got one atmospheric pressure?
Because that's what we base our measurements on, right? We take the base.
Well, according to your position, we breathe 14.7 psi of atmospheric pressure, right? But as you gain in altitude, that drops, apparently.
Yeah, it does drop.
So we don't have one atmospheric pressure, then, do we? We have a variable.
We live in a dynamic pressure system.
Right, but gravity is what causes that. All right.
Sorry, no. Gravity doesn't cause that. So no.
What gravity does cause, it causes the molecules to become closer and closer and closer.
No problem. I've already asked.
Can you demonstrate gravity causing this?
Took the words out of my mouth. So you're asserting gravity maintains gas pressure without a container. Okay, show me gravity maintaining gas pressure without a container.
The Earth.
That's your religious belief. How many times have I got to say it? That's not a demonstration of gas pressure without a container. That's your religious belief in a vacuum of space existing simultaneously next to the air we all breathe. Now, I don't want to hear your religious belief for a third time. Listen to the question. Either admit you have a religious belief in space, or demonstrate that you can maintain gas pressure without a container by means of your religious assertion in the G constant derived from Cavendish balls.
Alrighty then. How do you explain?
Don't ask me a question. No, you asshole. Is that what you've descended to this quickly? I ask you to basically back up your religious belief. Rather than concede you've got a religious belief about space, you're asking me something. Where's your demonstration? That doesn't require me being asked anything. You've just asserted your religious belief here. Science, whatever your name is. So give us your science. Show us it now. Don't ask me something. Show me gas pressure without a container, or concede this is your religious belief.
Let me jump in real quick, Science.
No, I want him to show me. Or concede he's got a religious belief about space.
You can call it a religious belief if you want. Yeah, sure. We'll call it a religious belief.
Yes, it is a religious belief because you have no evidence to back it. Now, that was quick. Yes, absolutely. So when you say, let's just think the Earth is a sphere, and let's just believe, like I believe, because I'm a zealot, that gas pressure can exist next to the vacuum where they all travel in bloody space penises, then you can believe that somewhere else. We're not just going to believe it because you assert it. We're going to damn be sure asking for evidence of it, and you haven't got any. So yes, it is your religious belief. We don't want that here. No, thank you. Keep your religion to yourself.
Okay, but can you let me explain?
What, your religion? No, don't explain your religion either. We are not interested in Jehovah's Witnesses knocking on our door. Unless you can demonstrate gas pressure without a container, I'm not interested in your religious belief about it.
But you can't. That's what I'm trying to get to. You can't.
Yeah, I know you can't.
It's not feasible.
I know a necessary antecedent for gas pressure is a container. You think there's a vacuum space where they go to Mars, right?
Yes.
Wrong. That's your religious belief. That's what I'm trying to get you to concede. But you've just agreed in the affirmative. Yes, that's where they travel to Mars. No, sunshine. No. The antecedent, a container, is necessary to have gas pressure. Don't just assert that you can have a vacuum out there. You can't. That's impossible.
All right, can we stay on neutral ground and talk calmly here? And can you let me explain?
Yeah, I think we should lower the tone a little bit. And we know where this is going to go if we carry on in this line of reasoning. Perhaps it might be a good idea just to change subject, just to try and keep you in, because it's going to go in one direction and only one.
Can I jump in just real quick?
Sure.
So, science, my analogy for you to think about is what I call the Saint Nick fallacy. So, imagine your child comes and says, "Dad, prove to me that there's Santa Claus," and you say, "Look, there's presents under the tree." It's a circular.
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you a question, science, but simple.
Did that come through? Because I got a phone call. Did that come through?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
It does. And then, I mean, you're not wrong either.
Okay.
Science. How far away is the sun?
Billions of miles. We all know this. But the way it was calculated.
Yeah. Of miles, are you sure?
Yeah. And it was calculated a long time ago, too. Way before calculators, before science.
I've not heard
How
anybody...
would it calculate?
They've calculated with...
I haven't heard anybody saying billions of miles. So how far away is the sun?
Let me get the actual perfect 150 million kilometers.
So it's not billions then, right?
No, but it's millions. 150 million kilometers.
Allegedly.
Allegedly,
do you
yes.
know where that? Do you know where that number comes from?
Well, from scientific research and calculations.
If you don't know, just say I'm not sure, because I don't want you to start citing science if you're not sure, because that's what I'm going to ask you. What's the proof? So if you don't know for certain, don't just say I don't know, and we can move on.
I don't know for certain who calculated it, but I know science did calculate it, yes. And we can still calculate it today, like we can calculate the distance from a different planet.
So if you know that science did, what's the evidence for it then?
That's like me asking you if somebody told you something and you believed it, what's the proof for it then? Right. So that becomes more...
Exactly, you believe it, right?
Yeah, I do believe it.
Right. But you've already admitted that you don't know who, but then reasserted your position by saying that you know that science did. So when I ask for it, you have to admit then it's a belief.
It is a belief, yeah. Just like you believe the earth is flat, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Not necessarily. I don't necessarily push that it is flat. It does appear to be flat, but that's not my position. My position is it could be something else completely, like a meteorite or something like that, something that's not got shape to it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But my point is that if you just believe that the sun's 93 million miles away, that's fine, or 150 million kilometers. That's fine, so long as you accept that it is actually a belief, one that you aren't able to prove. So what about? So we've done the gas pressure, we've done gravity, we've done the sun. What else is it? So our stars. How far away are the stars?
Do you want astronomical units? Do you want kilometers? The stars are very far away. I mean, they're all dependent on their own, whichever star you're talking about. They're millions and millions and billions of miles away. 1 light year, 10,000 light years, 120,000 light years away.
How far can you read a number plate from with your eyes? Say 25, 50, 100 feet?
Well, you can't do it with your eyes, obviously. I mean, you can do it with the proper equipment, which, reads the spectrum of the light that's received.
If I was to aim my car headlights at your house and flash my main beams, do you think from America somewhere, wherever it is that you are in America, do you think that even on a flat plane that you would see my lights flashing from my car if you looked in the right angle?
No.
So why would you think that you can see stars that are billions and billions and billions of miles away?
Because there's a difference in luminosity.
But we have something to measure that, don't we? We have luminosity measurements called, it's called the inverse square law. and the luminosity is governed by how far away it is. So we know that you can't see a candle for much more than a couple of miles. The claim by science, or the claim by dumb people on the internet, is that you can see it up to 30 miles away, but there's no science to support that. The science states that you can only see a candle for a couple of miles away because it becomes too small and it becomes too faint to see. So the inverse square law applies to it, as well as perspective.
But you're comparing a candle to a star, right?
To make the point that light is, the distance that light can so-called travel is finite. It's not infinite.
As long as there's nothing else acting upon the light or blocking it, light can travel forever. Now, it'll vary in wavelengths because, you know, as we all know,
light can't travel away. Light can't travel forever. It's subject to the inverse square law. It will fade out.
That's why we have radio telescopes. Because light will eventually dissipate into a different wavelength. That's why we have radio telescopes to pick up that wavelength. So no, light does not go on forever.
And that's how luminosity
is a measure based on candlelight. You did realise that, right? How many lumens something is based on a measure that's derived from candlelight. Just want to point that out.
Yes, but comparing a candlelight in you know, far away in America, and then comparing a star to a candlelight is like comparing, you know, a rock to a nuclear bomb. You know, which one I'm going to see first.
Sorry. The measure for how bright it is will be in lumens. Correct?
That's correct, but that's off
Look
the point.
up what a lumen is. Look up where it comes from. Okay? Then tell me that it's got nothing to do with candles. Okay?
But not just that. You said comparing a candle, compare a star to a candle is like comparing a rock to a nuclear explosion. Well, how do you know that the stars are said nuclear explosion? How big are they?
Because of the radiation they give off. There's only one reason why it would give off such radiation. It would be through nuclear fission.
No, there's two reasons why it would give off the radiation it gives off. One is that look. What I'm getting at is how do you know how big the stars are to know that they're as far away as what they tell us? Because they all look about the same size, they all look about the same brightness apart from the odd one or two, and they all look about the same distance away.
He already stumbled upon the answer, which was the astronomical unit. He mentioned about 5 minutes ago. That is the reason why, isn't it? That's the reason of the astronomical unit and how they got to that. That's where it's all based on.
Do you know what the astronomical unit is, science? But simple.
That's how far an object is in space. That's what an astronomical unit is.
I said it again. The definition of an astronomical unit is what?
Astronomical unit is the distance between you.
No, shut up. He didn't say that.
You're a kind man.
What did you say, science but simple? The definition for an astronomical unit is what?
It's the unit of measurement we use to, you know, the distance to space.
The distance to space?
Yes.
That's not right.
Not what it was based off. You know, it's two different things. But what it is it's a unit of measure we use, just like meters or centimeters.
Yeah, the measurement we use. What is the unit? Explain to me what an astronomical unit is.
It's the distance between the Earth and the Sun.
Right. Do you know where that came from?
Shout out to Peanuts Clark for the super chat. Got to science the shit out of it. Quite right.
Do you know where the astronomical unit came from?
Came from the measurement of the Earth, the distance from the Sun.
A measurement from this. Oh, right, okay. And you're not sure where that came from, but the reference one astronomical unit.
Don't assume. Ask him if he knows where that came from. Sorry.
Okay. Do you know where that came from then? The distance from the Earth to the Sun. It came before the distance did. They worked out the relative positions before they got the distances, right?
What was his name? I think was it Ptolemy's? I can't pronounce his name properly.
Nathan, I was wondering, you know, for ballers at moments like this, could you do a kind of like a millionaire thing where they get 3 lifelines, where they could phone a friend, or
is it?
That's a genius.
Aristotle? Is it Kepler?
50-50.
Is it Foucault or is it Cavendish? Now you can take a lifeline.
What's that?
You want to phone a
Yeah,
friend?
so ask that question again, Nathan.
Is it A? I forgot her name now. Is it A, Einstein, B, Kepler, C, Cavendish, or D, Foucault?
So we've got Cavendish, Einstein, Kepler, Foucault.
We keep changing the names and not making it easy for him. He'd probably figure it out by the one that stayed the same.
Well, no, you guys, I'm going to go with D, occult.
Okay. Okay.
Dun dun dun. You're saying D, Foucault. Now, you happy with that answer?
Is it your final answer?
It's my final answer.
Okay. No, that's wrong.
Dun dun dun. Oh, you had $25,000. You threw it all away. Man, I bet you wish you paid attention at school.
So, in your name, then, it says science but simple. What simple science have you got, then, to demonstrate anything with regards to heliocentricity?
Observations. I mean, I don't know how to explain it to you guys. I mean, you're always going to have another point to add onto it, and that's great. That's a great thing to have, you know. You always debate science, which, you know, well, how do you explain this then? If you can't prove it, how do you explain this? And then it's really great, and that's why I love this panel so much, because you guys constantly debate not only globe Earth stuff, but flat Earth stuff as well. You know, how do we prove this? But science made simple is basically like, well, if I drop an apple, then how do you explain that? Why does it accelerate at a constant, you know, velocity? Well, then if you put it in water, why does it go slower? Well, that's easy, you know.
Constant velocity.
So, hold on. Hold on. Let's just see. Let's just test. So you said that's what you do in simple science, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what methodology would you do? So your observation is you see an apple falling from a tree. What would you do? Let's science the shit out of this, as Physics Warrior says.
What would I do if I saw an apple fall down a tree?
Yeah. What would be your next step if you were going to do science on it?
I eat it.
That's not very scientific.
That's not at all scientific. I'd probably eat it too, but let's pretend for a moment that we're scientists. So we're all scientists. We've got our lab coats and our name tags. We see an apple falling from a tree. We go, right, it's time for science. What are we going to do next? You tell me.
Well, first I'd question why the apple fell from the tree.
Sorry. Yeah, you want to know why the apple fell from the tree. What are we going to do next?
We're going to try to recreate it, obviously.
Sorry, we've observed the phenomena. Now you're going to try and recreate the phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what next? How are you going to achieve that?
We'll take something with a similar mass, or you don't want to take an apple again, drop it from a greater distance, maybe something higher than a tree, and observe it.
Sorry, that's not recreating the phenomena, is it? You've observed the phenomena. Now in science, what you're trying to do, I'll have to lead you a little bit, is try and establish the cause of that effect. So the effect is your phenomena. In this case, apple falls from tree. In science, you're trying to find the cause of that. So what do you think you do next?
We recreate it.
No.
You have to recreate it.
I'll tell you. You formulate a hypothesis. This hypothesis will have a very specific thing in it. The very specific thing is called an independent variable. That is your presumed, because you don't know it is yet, your presumed cause. And what you're going to do is test to see if it really is the cause or not. So, my next question. Apple falls from tree. What would you assert causes that?
Gravity.
Oh, excellent. So, an independent variable requires the researcher, that would be you, to vary and manipulate the independent variable. Now, you tell me, how are you going to vary gravity, your presumed cause? Don't tell me how you will manipulate the dependent variable, the apple. Tell me how you'll manipulate the independent variable, presumed cause, gravity. How are you going to manipulate that then?
He can't manipulate gravity.
So you're telling me you haven't got a scientific cause? My God, you just told us this was simple science, and yet we can't validate it with science. What kind of an idiot are you? Don't laugh. This is a demonstration of the stupidity we are faced from. So I'm going to do a little speech to the dicks who are in the chat right now that say, this is the reason people don't want to come on your show, Nathan. Wrong. I rip globehead zealot religious idiots a new asshole, like this dick, who says science made simple is watching an apple from a tree, and when we take him through the logical steps of the scientific method, we very quickly discover that the independent variable is not variable by the researcher, therefore not science. Therefore, what this dick says is just stupid. That's why people don't want to come here. They don't want to be humiliated by me. Okay, sunshine, so you don't have science for gravity then? You're going to concede, or you're going to go on to a religious belief about it now? Is this going to be a concession?
May I ask you a quick, simple question?
No!
First?
No! This is why I call people like you assholes. Concede. You have a religious belief in gravity, not verified by science, as you asserted incorrectly.
May I ask you a question first?
No. You can concede that your assertion that this is science made simple was wrong because of your ignorance. You don't understand what science is, but you're here telling us what it is, aren't you? Science made simple, watching an apple fall, all that shit you just spoke, all nonsense, ripped apart by me. And as I'm pointing out to the dicks in the audience, this is why people don't want to come here, because it's humiliating. So concede, be a man, grow a pair of balls, and admit you don't have scientific validity to your assertion of gravity. This is not science made simple. It is yet another religious assertion by you.
But I already told you earlier.
No, that was about something else. So
what I told you earlier, that I don't have proof for gravity.
Yeah, so why are you telling us, you just told us it was science made simple, let's watch an apple. So after conceding you have no proof of it, you asserted that it was science. That's the point I'm trying to get you to concede. You keep reasserting your religious belief and tagging it with science. So you said this is science made simple? Do you not remember saying those words?
I do.
So, do you concede that what you said was not only wrong, but complete nonsense?
I'm not going to say it was wrong, and I'm not going to say it's
nonsense. It was wrong. This is not science. You can't vary and manipulate your variable that you claim is the cause. So, do you need me to explain it a third time, that being the second? Or will you now concede that you aren't doing science made simple? This is not proof of anything. Watching apples fall from a tree won't give you the ability to vary and manipulate your presuppositional G.
But you can't manipulate gravity, Nathan, on a scale.
Yeah, that's my point, you absolute bonehead. You can't manipulate your independent variable. That's what you need to do science. So this, as I've asserted now 3 times, is not science. Why aren't you conceding this? Are you a mouse, not a man? Listen up, globeheads in the audience. This is why people don't want to come. Because it's humiliating to have to concede how wrong you are.
But it's not humiliating. I mean, there's nothing humiliating about it.
So concede that you cannot scientifically validate your religious belief in gravity.
Okay. Are you happy?
No, you haven't said it. Repeat after me. I cannot validate gravity. I assert it because I have a religious belief in it.
I don't have a religious belief, but I do believe in it. But I will concede that I cannot prove my point, yes.
So you believe and you cannot prove. You have a religious belief.
All right, Nathan, let's not milk it. He's admitted it.
No, I'll milk it as long as he doesn't concede. He's conceded now, tentatively, after 3 attempts. This is where I go, well done for finally being a man and conceding that you have a religious belief in this garbage. Gravity, specifically. Not scientifically valid, just your religious faith. Thank you for finally conceding. I appreciate it.
Yeah, me too.
Nathan, how much time do we have on this show left?
About a quarter of an hour.
Okay, I'll save it for the next time. I've got something to show that that we replicated recently, a test from the 1800s revolving around optics and theodolites, and Chris and Maitre did a copy of the test, and we got some results that I would like to show, but I'll save that for the next time.
Cool.
Okay, I mean, I can keep the show going. If I have no issue whatsoever keeping it running if it takes longer.
Well, I didn't prepare any material, so I would be stumbling around looking for the right pictures, etc. So I'll prepare something, and it won't last longer than 20 minutes.
Cool. No, I look forward to it.
Okay. Go on.
Science but simple. It appears that you may not have as much science for what you believe as what you first thought.
Well, the thing is that the questions you guys are asking are things you can't prove without, like, how can you manipulate gravity? Well, if we believe in a heliocentric model, you can't manipulate gravity. This is not a thing. We can't manipulate gravity. That's the thing we know.
Resursions. These are your resursions on your belief model, right?
Yeah.
So we're only asking you guys to prove your resursions.
Well, technically, if you believe in the mainstream model of gravity, you should be able to manipulate gravity because mass creates a field distortion. So you could fumble around with masses trying to create that field distortion, which will never work.
But we're talking about mass attracting masses, and that's not the current rhetoric of science. That's the bending of space-time.
Science. I had just one point, and to me, you're not being simple. What you're taking an observation of something of greater density falling through something of a lesser density, and what you're then doing is twisting that and saying something else is happening. You're saying there are attraction of masses at play here when there's no scientific evidence that any attractive forces of the masses are there. There's plenty of observational and measurable evidence that you can show the density and buoyancy interaction. So for me, you're not making things simple. You're complicating it by introducing something that's not demonstrable within the experiment that you say presents the theory.
That's correct.
So it's not simple then, it's complicating.
I mean, yes, science is complicated, but, like I said earlier, watching an apple fall from a tree is quite simple, right? But like you said, you can't.
Not science.
That's not science.
Yeah, but for that observation of an apple falling out of a tree, you've had to create a pseudoscience to allow it to fit with your religious belief. So you've stepped out of science totally to enable it to be explained in your religious paradigm.
Stepped into science in the first place.
Well, you said you were about to do science, and then you went on and didn't do science.
What science? What do you understand science to be?
Hang on, why don't you answer that question for us?
I would turn it and say, why do you think? Explain how the Newtonian gravity explanation of the apple falling from the tree is science. Is probably the better way of addressing that point.
But didn't we already concede that point?
I don't know.
I think we've already conceded it isn't science.
Yeah. So that answers the point then, doesn't it?
We know what science is, but would you tell us what science is? Because I'm not sure that you actually do.
Science is just observations, really.
Not really.
No, that's one step in the scientific method.
Don't give him any more clues.
Yeah, but it's observations and knowledge in a certain subject. That's what science is.
No, specifically, it's not observations. It's observation of something specific, not just observations. That's wrong. Step one, this is step one. We're failing at step one of the scientific method so far. You've got science in the name of your avatar, and you literally don't know the first step in the scientific method.
You've asked me for a definition of science. I gave you the definition of science.
And it was wrong.
Right?
You said making
It's
observations.
observation,
That's wrong.
and
Listen up. That's wrong. Okay? I don't care that you've attempted to answer it. You answered incorrectly. You don't know what science is. So we'll give you another go because you claim to have answered already. Like giving any random answer, saying jam suddenly means you've given an answer. No, it's not correct. So if you don't know what step 1 is in the scientific method, just concede. I don't know. I'm using the word science to seem smart, even though I don't know what it is. You can laugh it up.
Lifeline time.
Laugh it up.
You phone a friend.
Yeah, do you want to find a friend?
So step 1. What kind of observation? I'm hinting as much as I can. A type of observation is step 1. What type of observation? What are you observing?
A phenomenon.
Smoke rises, for example.
I heard the right answer. Was it from you, science?
It's a phenomenon. You're observing a phenomenon.
Right.
Something happening.
Precisely. A phenomena. Something happening. Excellent. So, observation of a phenomena. So, in your... What do you do next? Let's not lead you anymore.
You'd base a theory or something upon that. What is causing it?
It's got
Why
a
is
name.
it acting in such
It's
a
not
way?
a theory. In science, a theory is a combination of the end results of lots of scientific experiments. That's what you get when you get a scientific theory. We are definitely nowhere near the theory stage. Step 2, not theory.
Do you want to ask a panel member for some help?
I advise you change your name. Science but simple? Yeah, change it to just retard. Just put that as your title, because you've got no scientific acumen whatsoever. Literally zero.
Just call yourself simple.
Why do you always retort yourself to insult others? Does it make you feel...
Sorry, this was not an insult. I'm asking you for step 2 of the scientific method, and you don't know it. So you are not scientifically literate at all. That's a fact. That's not an insult. You are demonstrating what I am detailing live in front of several hundred people. That's not an insult. It's a fact. Unless you can give me step 2 of the scientific method. So far you've said theory. Wrong again.
No, I said that the overall scientific method is, concluding to a theory.
No,
At the end, that's what you
that's
get.
not the science. I'd say it again. Clearly you're deaf as well as stupid and arrogant in your assertions about your understandings of science based on your avatar name. So no, theory is a combination of the results of the
Of everything,
adherence.
yes.
Why are you talking? Shut up and try to listen, dumbass. Yeah, dumb, stupid by your demonstrations, not by my ad hominem. This is a fact. You are stupid and should listen when you talk. Theory comes much later. It is a combination of the results of the scientific process, not step 2 in the scientific method. It is not theory time. Okay? You are wrong.
What's the background noise, science?
Oh, that's my vape. Sorry about that. Can you guys hear that?
Just
Quite
waiting
loud,
for
yeah.
step 2. You could have Googled it by now.
But that would be cheating,
Science,
wouldn't
you've
it?
obviously got questions, mate, but
It'd
don't
be
know how
less
to use
painful.
Google, do you? Science is a very specific tool, mate.
Quite narrow.
Yeah. And you've obviously
So-
got questions and assertions, and you won't have science in your name, but you don't even know that science is a tool and how to define that tool or how that is defined.
Well, I did say earlier, we observe what happens to phenomena.
More than that, though.
You're being led through this, though. Baby steps. Doesn't that ring any alarm bells in you that, the way that you perceive the world might not be correct and the things that are asserted on you are not correct?
But I never said it was correct.
I'm asking you if he doesn't.
Sorry,
He should
yes,
start
you-
ringing alarm bells in your
Well,
head.
now he's lying. You did say it was correct. That's precisely what you came in and asserted.
No, that is not.
So when you gave us your little blurb about 9.8 meters per second squared, That wasn't you asserting that this is just correct and used by everybody, therefore correct. That's not what you were asserting. I can assure you it was. You're just a liar.
No, I specifically said
Oh,
that's
so
what
you
the
made these
observations were
assertions
made.
because
That's
they're
what
not
people
correct.
say.
So why did you assert them? Because they're not correct? Just passing the time by making nonsense assertions that aren't correct. That's why you made those assertions, was it? Because they're wrong. That's why you asserted them as being incorrect. Yeah, take your
But it
time.
is-
Take your time while you figure out how you've lied. Yes,
In
you
my
came
mind, it's
here and
correct,
asserted
yes.
you were correct. You're not. He's just pointed out that you've come and asserted this and you've said, I'm not asserting it is correct. Yes, you were. That's precisely what you were doing. Asserting your religious beliefs. I had to take you through it 3 times. So don't now tell me that you weren't when I've had to spend my time and the audience's time taking you, who doesn't understand science, through the steps of your logical fallacies. Not science, fallacy. So don't assert you weren't asserting it as true. You were.
I think you need a better nickname.
That's possibly one of the most protracted silences we've ever had on the show.
And we all know why. Because Howard's not in.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably a good opportunity to round out. So I'll say first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated the show, you know exactly what to do. But if you liked it, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. Also, be sure to tune in to Science versus Pseudoscience in a couple of hours' time. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!